moving on to the female. So first thing about female is, let's talk about the females are more complex than male. That's why you ladies are from Venus and guys are from Mars. Mars is just air and land, and then look at Venus, right? All right, let's talk about the stages of the female. Stages starting off with puberty with the female. So female puberty. Puberty for the female, again, similar in males in that there's a rise in the level of gonadotropin releasing hormone. Again, and the rise in gonadotropin releasing hormone is dependent upon body fat. So what are the 3 stages of female puberty?
Oh, I don't know, order luteal phase, right?
So there's your thalarchy, which is breast development. So development of the breast. Development of the breast, I want you guys to know this, depends upon, again, body fat. So breast tissue are mainly connective tissue, and what are fat? Fat or connective tissue. So development of the breast depends on body fat. The next stage is your puberty. I think that's how you spell it. And this is whenever you start to develop hair. Your pubic hair, your armpit hair, some people have mustache hair. It all depends on how much androgens they have, because this stage depends on the level of androgen in the female. So that's why certain conditions like PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, they have a higher, those individuals with that medical condition has a higher than normal level of androgen. That's why they have like the mustache and everything. And then the last stage of puberty is your menarche. And this is the stage where the female begins menstruation. Before we start to talk about menstruation, what are 2 of the major hormones found in the female reproductive system? So we talked about progesterone already, which acts on the uterus. And then estrogen, which is the feminizing hormone, right? Acts throughout the whole body. What does estrogen do to the female vaginal canal? What happens to the female vaginal canal whenever that female starts the menarche stage of their puberty?
It thins the lining.
So that's the surface that you're thinking of. So the vagina undergoes what we call metaplasia. So that means that the simple layer that lines the vaginal canal is now a multi-layer. It becomes stratified. Why? Why is that?
Friction.
Yeah, to reduce friction and abrasion, right? Because it has to prepare, the female vaginal cavity has to be prepared to receive the male penis for the sperm. All right, good. So, menstruation. While we're on the stage part of menstruation, let's kind of circle back and let's talk about the sexual cycle that the female goes through their lifetime. So the sexual cycle, all that is that there's 2 cycles that goes hand in hand with each other. The ovarian cycle, which occurs in the ovaries, and the menstrual cycle. Which occurs in the uterus. So all the sexual cycle is due to alteration or cyclic changes in the female hormones. That's all it is, cyclic changes. That means that one time the hormonal level will be high, the other time will be low. So it's just cyclic changes. So, what are the phases of the ovarian cycle?
Follicle.
So the follicular phase. So what hormone is involved in this phase and what is going on in this phase?
FSH.
You have FSH secretion, so follicle stimulating hormone, right? You have FSH secretion. So what is FSH doing?
Stimulated follicle.
Yeah, the growth of the ovarian follicles. So, what hormone does the ovarian follicle start to secrete as it gets older? Estrogen. So as estrogen level increases, it goes back and it negatively inhibits the release of more FSH. So your FSH level would decrease. So what is the next phase of the ovarian cycle?
Neutral.
So ovulation. So you have ovulation. So ovulation is because FSH is suppressed. Now there will be a surge in LH. So you have an LH surge. And this induces ovulation. So what is ovulation? So here we have an ovarian follicle with these follicular cells surrounding that. And then we have an oocyte just swimming around in the middle of a pool of water called the angina. What is ovulation?
That's where it bursts out.
Yeah, it bursts out, right? The follicular cells rupture. The follicular cells rupture. This oocyte gets sold in the uterus. And then this clump of follicular cells remain and forms the corpus luteum. So then, after ovulation, now that the corpus luteum is formed, begins the luteal phase. So, what hormone does the corpus luteum secrete? Progesterone. So the level of progesterone will increase. So what will happen to your level of LH and FSH?
Decrease.
It will decrease. So why? Why would the level of FSH and LH decreases?
Because you don't want any more.
Yeah, you already have an oocyte in the uterus, right? You really don't want any more ovarian follicle to kind of rupture, overlay, and deposit more in there, right? So, all right. And then after about 2 weeks or so, the corpus luteum undergoes involution. So that will result in a decrease in level of estrogen and progesterone. So what will happen to the level of FSH and LH now that the level of estrogen and progesterone is decreased? It starts increasing. So when it starts increasing, you'll go back to the follicular phase, right? So what are the phases of the menstrual cycle?
Menstrual phase, proliferative phase.
So which phase is first? The proliferative phase. So what hormone is required for the proliferative phase and what's going on during the proliferative phase?
Say, it's a little increase of estradiol hormone.
Yeah, estradiol, which is
Estradiol,
estrogen.
yeah.
So what happens is that whenever you have a rise in the level of estrogen, it causes the proliferative phase. It causes the growth of the endometrial functional layer within the uterus. So this is the layer where the oocyte gets deposited in. So just kind of think, both of these cycles are going on at the same time, concurrently with each other too. So whenever you have the follicular phase of the ovarian cycle, when you have an increase in that level of estrogen, that increase in level of estrogen is causing the uterus, the endometrial functional layer of the uterus to grow, to proliferate, essentially. So that whenever ovulation occurs, and that oocyte gets released from the ovarian follicle, it has a nice, healthy soil in the uterus to sow itself into, right? So thus begins the secretory phase. And this requires an increase in the level of progesterone. Because this phase, you have your endometrial gland secreting these fluids and these nutrients into the endometrial functional layer to kind of keep the oocyte, kind of keep it alive until it gets fertilized, right? So now that the corpus luteum starts to die in about 2 weeks, and the level of progesterone and estrogen is decreased, thus begins your premenstrual phase. And so the corpus luteum starts to die, inflate, you have a decrease in level of estrogen and progesterone, now begins your premenstrual phase. So it needs to get rid of this layer. How does the uterus get rid of that layer?
Contractions.
Yeah, it causes it kills off the layer, essentially, right? It kills off the cells that make up that layer. And how do you kill off the cells? You cut off circulation to it. So you have your myometrial contraction, which results in the spiral artery constriction, and this leads to ischemia of that layer. And this ischemia is what causes the pain, the cramps, and everything during a female sexual cycle.
Can that ischemia eventually lead to other issues if it's too severe?
Yeah, if it's too severe, it'll cause significant pain, and it'll start to kill off the other cells around there too. That's the reason why, like, people who are has prolonged contraction during labor, the prolonged contraction can essentially cut off circulation to the placenta and then to the baby too, leading to harm to the baby. All right, and then the last phase is just the menstrual phase, where you have menses, which is essentially just the kind of the common tongue, the female breathing phase, essentially, and that's the female getting rid of mensen, getting rid of that dead endometrial function layer. All right, last thing. Talk about the last thing to talk about, and then we can go ahead and take a quick break. Is as the female gets older, what are the 2 stages that they reach in their life? So one is climacteric, and then the other one is menopause. So what's the difference between the 2?
A drop in hormone, estrogen?
Yeah, so why the drop in hormones? What results in the drop in hormones?
The ovulation cycle is all.
Yeah, so the ovarian follicles. So the climacteric stage, they have a decrease in the level of their ovarian follicles. And the ovarian follicles is what secrete estrogen, the granulosa cell, and then the progesterone, your corpus luteum, right? So female, I think by the time a female reaches adult age, they only have like 300, 400 ovarian follicles. Don't quote me on that. Like 600, a couple of hundreds left. That's it. They're born with like millions, and then they start to die away. By the time they're born, they only have like 200,000 left. But then by the time they reach puberty, they reach their first menstruation, they only have like a couple of hundreds left.
So when they get them frozen, that will speed up menstruation, because then therefore their body's like, oh, that speeds up them reaching the cycle.
Yeah, because they're taking out like
okay.
whatever.
But then if they decide to use them,
Right.
they still have a baby, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you can
even
still
though
have a
they're
baby.
Yeah. I mean, other than possible complications of age, stuff like that.
You know, honestly, I think the average age for female to get pregnant nowadays to deliver their first kid is in their early 30s. And then there are females as old as, not old, not late either. There are females who are in their 40s, mid 40s, and still get pregnant. We don't know why. They say that the risk of autism and ADHD and everything gets higher as and Down syndrome gets higher as the females age get older during their first pregnancy. They found some correlation, but they don't know what's the cause. They don't know why. So in the end, we don't know why. Maybe that we can easily diagnose autism a lot easier now and at a younger age. So there's probably that too. Kind of like depression, right? It's not essentially that everyone's more depressed nowadays. It's just that more people are going to a doctor, and doctors are diagnosing more now. So it's not that like everyone's so. Well, there's kind of, don't get me started on that. But anyway, so there is a decrease in the ovarian follicles during the climacteric stage, and because of that, the level of estrogen and progesterone will decrease. So what's the difference between climacteric and menopause?
Doesn't sound fun.
No, menopause
Increased
doesn't
body
sound fun.
temperature, everything's out of whack.
Yeah, and the reason why their body temperature get increased because they have blood vessel dilation. They don't have kind of like the cyclic changes in their hormones anymore. Now it's kind of like not flatline, but like really low, so it causes like blood vessel dilation. So they have those hot flashes, body sweat. But no, so we talk about how the climacteric or the climax is whenever there's a decrease in ovarian follicle. Menopause is whenever there's no ovarian follicle at all. So because they don't have any ovarian follicles, they don't menstruate at all for at least a year. So no menstruation for at least 1 year. And then they're considered in their menopause. Alright. Otherwise, that's pretty much what I want to point out real quick. You guys want to take a quick break and then we're going to start on pregnancy? Finish off pregnancy.